And also think about, as I mentioned, characteristics of the person giving this message. Statement length. You want a short, concise press conference statement? If it's too long, the problem with the press conference that's too long is it offers too much. You're in a sense, you're at the mercy of the press, the media people who come. They can print whatever they want. They can show whatever little news clip they want. So the more concise you can make your statement, the more you can control the message. So concise, short to the point, something that's newsworthy that you think the media will rerun on the 6 o'clock news. And hopefully that's helpful to whatever cause you're trying to benefit with this press conference. Newsworthy, too long, can offer too much, and bore your audience. And like, why do we come here? All right, I got a deadline. I got to be back at 4 o'clock to get this on for the news. You're going on and on. All right, I'm just going to do a piece about how you went on and on. And of course, you want to give the media that's there something valuable, some newsworthy information. You just don't want something that's so short they feel like they've just gotten some little canned soundbite from it. All right, question and answers. So suppose you're at a press conference and you get asked a bunch of questions. I would use the same techniques we went over with the interview. If they ask you a positive question, reiterate, answer positively. It works into your key message in your soundbite. You are asked a negative question, you're still playing to the camera in this scenario where you're conducting a press conference, and you might need to remember that even though you have 5 or 6 different reporters yelling annoyed, angry-seeming questions at you, the camera just reads your reaction. So if you respond to that with positive body language, that one-way conversation can be represented just by your positive reaction. So questions, I would use interview techniques that we talked about, reiterating positive, blocking, bridging negative, and remember that it's still a one-way, two-way conversation, and do not get riled up by people who are trying to agitate you. We'll get a chance to practice that later with our press conference. Okay. Any comments or questions on press conference before we move on? Yes, ma'am.
It wasn't a press, I think it was after a State of the Union, they asked John Kerry what he was wearing, and his reaction was like, what? And even if you couldn't hear what the ridiculous question, the look on his face was like, who are you and why are you talking to me? It was exactly what you were saying about how he reacted to the camera.
Okay, so the interesting clip was him reacting and him getting angry. So John Kerry gets angry about something. Was this before he ran for president or after he ran?
This was like, maybe a couple months ago.
Okay.
There was no reason, they were asking who designed this, who are you wearing? Like, they never asked any politician, ma'am, what designer designed your suit? They don't ask men that.
Okay.
And I think it was after the State of the Union, they're leaving, or some political thing. And that's the question they asked. And his reaction was like, he looked extremely confused and annoyed.
Okay.
And it was really funny.
Right, and it all just reflects on him. No one's asking the reporter, why did you ask such a silly question? It's all about how John Kerry reacted to this. Good point, excellent. All right, are you ready for our exercises to practice these scenarios? All right, I'm excited. Hope you all are excited. Yes?
Now we're talking about the press conference. Today I was at the Newark Federal Court. I saw the press conference. It's about the case of the Port Authority, Mr. Samson and the United Airlines case.
Can you?
So he pleaded guilty.
Okay.
The lawyer.
His best friend.
Yes.
What's that?
There
His
you go.
best friend. Pleaded guilty. He
Okay.
had a
2 years.
bribery scandal with United
Yeah,
Airlines.
he received money from the United.
They did
Jail
guilty.
years.
Okay.
So when I was in front of the conference and all the reporters.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay.
And I looked, trying to remember all the steps that you said and the person who was interviewed. The only thing that I noticed different, they were reading a lot.
Reading a lot at the press
Yeah.
conference?
Yeah. It wasn't like more like natural. And then the guy from the FBI also talked and they were like with the paper in front of that.
Okay, yeah, so, well, especially when there's legality involved, but pretty much any time at a press conference, it'll be a short prepared statement.
Okay.
You want to do your best to bring your messenger characteristics to that. So you're reading it for a reason, because you're the CEO of the company, because you're the person who is trusted at the company, and you want to reflect a little bit of your personality, but at the same time, you need to be clear that there's a clear message, and especially in that type of case, you're probably going to want to say word for word so you don't get yourself into more trouble or whatever's going on with that. Good point. All right, so let's start with our live long insurance. So I've assigned a number of you roles, and we're going to break up and we're going to solve this annuity processing problem. Essentially, there's a paper processing with these various annuities, and there is an electronic process where customers can invest in annuities by signing up in an online system. And I've given various people roles to discuss how we're going to merge this change in this changing environment. And naturally, there's going to be some confusion and some different opinions. So we'll watch and we'll think about how this all plays out and how and if any of these techniques we just went over contribute to or add confusion to the scenario. So let's do it this way. I've got a couple of breakout rooms. I'm thinking we'll do this. So Mike, your laptop is up and ready to go. Vishali, all right. So let's, okay, great. So Jim, you'll stay here and you'll use my laptop and we'll watch the back of Jim's head or front, we'll figure it out, and we'll watch everything on Skype here. And then I'm gonna have Mike and Vishali and Nick go off to their separate team rooms. Okay, so let's see. So Vishali, why don't you take this to room 217. So you and Nick and Vishali, you're gonna go to 217. Mike, you're gonna go to room 220. And Mike, you're gonna connect me with the Skype. I'll call you both on Skype. I'll give you like a couple of minutes. Jim, let's see. All right. I'm thinking, Jim, why don't we have you? Yeah, why don't we have you? I'll hold the chair for you right here. We'll have you sit right here. And so we'll give him just a minute. Think everything's working. Oh, yes. Oh my God, you're, yeah, so, yeah, okay. So Daniel is filling in for Saeed, who has hand, foot, and mouth disease. So you're going to come sit with Jim. Sorry about that. Thank you. I would have realized that. Okay. So you two are going to share.
stand.
Hold on, we're not ready yet.
Okay, take your time. We still need to get Mike on.
Okay, all right.
Is it good?
We've been zooming in. Stuff that he said don't do.
Yes, it
All right, let's see.
So I dialed a mic. Hopefully it was the right mic. Yeah, there we go. Good idea.
Oh, yeah. I think this is the best way we're gonna get that because you can't mount it. Yeah. So my job is gonna make a follow up. So I'll offer my opinion, but then ultimately.
Mic on. We're not getting the mic.
Are we in the New York office?
No, we're in the
We're in
office.
the
Mike,
There we go.
hey. All right.
Wouldn't be on the internet.
We've got Mike.
Lighting is terrible.
Yeah, so do I. So I think we're gonna do that.
Just tease.
So hopefully he's for processing.
Keep an eye.
Vishali and Nick, can you hear us now? Did we hang up on them?
Oh, yeah.
Mine says that they need to get the latest version of Skype to use group.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, but we just had the group. Maybe we can.
Maybe to do like Google Hangout.
Okay. Maybe. Oh, you're working on it. You're just downloading it?
Yeah.
Well,
That's
that's-
good.
that's-
Can we try and see?
Daniel, are you VP of Information Technology?
Can we try and see if you're
Okay.
we're able to call? Let me see if I'm able to
But
call
I'll
you.
put it
And
to
maybe we could.
yes, like how much provide like background
I can call you, I have it on.
Okay. Or actually, let me call you because I
Oh.
need to do the ad thing. I think. We got
Albert.
Can we keep click here? Click here. Oh.
That's cool.
I can find them.
So
Yeah, would you mind,
What room?
Marilyn?
However you want to
They're in room, I think, two, 217. I'll walk you.
2017.
217?
With the last part is yeah, last part is the recognition.
It's been a long actually, I want this week to go.
Yeah, it's you have the test for Monday.
Is that it? That's it? Or no?
That's a midterm for Monday.
That's a so that's that.
This one ends when the two.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, there's that guy.
No, that's what I thought. Is it gonna be? There's no other slide, it's like on the screen. I froze.
I can't see the video.
She's in that room.
No comment.
I guess that's what we're gonna have to do.
Well, we don't go there.
Give me a minute, give everybody.
Oh, yeah, back.
There we go. That's good.
Oh, chill. Just
Yeah, I
for that.
just saw it.
Nick, can you see us? Nick, can you hear us or see us? Okay, we can see us.
Can't hear you though.
Can you hear us, Nick? Can you hear us? No?
They said no. She should.
Okay, we're gonna need to hear you for that.
No.
Are you on mute? So the agenda of all video conferences should include like 15 minutes. It's, Marilyn, did you have audio on your Skype?
Oh, we can't.
Yeah, they can't hear us and we can't hear them.
Can you guys hear us now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Okay, we can hear you.
Okay. That hasn't changed from there.
What are you laughing? We are using
Alright, so we've got colleagues from Los Angeles, India, New York.
Yep.
They have one head.
Or like, should we move it?
we move it.
All right, tell Mike to kick it off on that.
All right, Mike, go ahead and kick it off. We're ready on our end from New York.
Okay. You in Mumbai, can you hear us?
Yeah, we're just adjusting the volume really quickly.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we have everybody now. Thank you all for taking the time to get together. I know it's a little tough with the time difference between LA and Mumbai.
It's a bit early here, but
Yeah.
a beautiful morning.
So first off, everybody knows the results from last year. Great job, everybody. Over $4 billion of annuities we sold. That's over 700,000 annuities processed. So again, I know you all have heard it before, but thank you for all of your hard work in doing this. So this year, we're already off to a good start, but I'm confident we'll do better than last year. So the reason we are all getting together is to talk a little bit about this online processing system that we have, and it was, it's a little new to everybody. Last year, we only, out of $4 billion, only 85 million of them were online or processed online. So we want to talk a little bit about how we can improve that. I mean, we've spent a decent amount of money investing in coming up with this system, and I'd like to get everybody together, one, to hear your thoughts, and then two, to come up with ideas about how we can how we can do better in 2016 as far as how many orders are actually processed online. So maybe we start with Jim and kind of get your perspective on things.
Yeah, so I just want to start this off by saying that I'm not opposed to using the online application system. I mean, I think it could be pretty good. The problem that we've been having, though, is that over the past year, it's been actually taking longer to get online applications processed than the paper forms. So you have to remember that our brokers service multiple annuity companies. So when they're working for a client, if they're having problems with ours, they might just go to somebody else. So I think we need to keep in mind that we need to make this process as easy and as streamlined for them as possible in order to preserve sales. So my fear is that if we move just to an online system, they're going to have too many problems, too many glitches, and they're going to say, we just don't want to do it. And then the other thing that we don't want to forget about is that there's a 90-day limit on these things. So we've been averaging 40-some-odd days to get these applications processed. As we approach 90, we run the risk of having to have them resubmitted again. Now, I mean, if you were selling these annuity products and you knew that Liberty annuity products sometimes didn't go through in the first shot, we had to resubmit twice, would we just go somewhere else? I mean, your time is valuable as someone in sales. So I think we should allow them to continue using the paper forms until we can get the online system worked out.
Okay, all good points. Vaishali, your team has to process all of Jim's team's sales. So, what is your take on things? Okay, having a hard time hearing you. No.
Oh, they closed there. How about now?
We can hear you, Nick. We can hear you pretty well.
Oh, she wants
Still
to
not hearing you.
because she hears an echo.
She wants to call the
You
phone.
got the
Oh, is that
service
what-
microphone on the computer.
She wants to call the phone.
Okay, how about this? Can you hear me now?
Sort of.
Alright. So I think the issue might be that, our big team, 125 people, but to keep up with the demand, it's just a lot of manual work in the next week. So I would agree to that just to go to online, and I hear what Tim is saying. One option is to phase out and maybe, because I have a good fraction of what our total sales are. But perhaps we can do a much bigger role, and at least start with maybe 50% of the application shop, and then see how it goes. Because right now, the way they're doing, it is a lot of stress, putting a lot of stress on my team, and we cannot keep up with this.
And my kind of to Vaishali's point, this is Nick. One of the things, we initially, the project manager, just kind of give you a quick status update, so we rolled this process out pretty smoothly. It's kind of gone off without a hitch. Kind of earlier to Jim's point, I think everybody is aligned that ultimately this application is going to allow us to drive efficiencies in the long run, increase our processing times, reduce overall costs. I know that one of the things that's kind of plaguing our full deployment of the process is I feel that some of the departments or divisions, there's definitely a level of comfort with the paper application. and there's a bit of reluctancy to fully adopt or to embrace the new system. So I think we really just have to align on where the system falls within our organization and to really drive home the message with sales so they can use it more often. Right now, because of that overall reluctancy to adopt this new application and to shift the 4 billion processes to the online, it's definitely led to a significant decrease in the overall investment of the IT infrastructure, which is causing those 47-day processing period, which is only about 6 days more on average than our paper processing currently. So I think if we could really kind of change the mindset, if we're all aligned on really bringing this online process to life, we have to definitely incorporate, instill the key drivers of why we're doing this within the organization. We need to invest heavily within the IT development in order to be able to drive home and create that process so it's streamlined so we can get down to a 25-day turnover time. So we can streamline processing time by over 44%. And overall, no implementation is going to be, it's a process, it's going to take time. We're not going to be able to do this overnight. But I think we're headed absolutely in the right direction. And I think we just need to make sure that we're ready to fully adopt and turn over this new process so we can be competitive and keep up with the changes in the market.
Okay, thank you. And Daniel, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I mean, points that Nick made and Shali made, and then what Jim mentioned about going back to paper. I mean, our guys here in IT, greatly understand and value the potential benefit of building that online processing system, but I don't really feel that we can justify additional IT expenses unless the online system gains greater use at this point. A lot of the budget is already tied up in supporting our 120 some odd supporting staff. Not really, little hesitant at allocating more funds unless the staff is decreased would be appropriate at this point at least. We could support with the 10 million the online processing task, but I mean that would come at the cost of support staff like I mentioned. And at this point, unless we could pull in at least a billion, through the online channel, don't really feel that at this point it would be appropriate for the online system.
Okay, well, we had made a commitment to the board a few years ago when we started this that we were going to head in this direction. And Jim, you certainly had valid concerns, but you also said you were not opposed to it. So I assume you're willing to work together here with us to find a solution. So I want to try to find some way we can come up, and everybody seems to, have thoughts on this, that how can we get our online processing up? And yes, it might be painful, but we want to try to make it as painless as possible for Jim's team to do so.
So Mike, I have just to interject really quickly. So absolutely agree. Our team in Mumbai here is about 125 people. 90%, we're forecasting about 90% of those employees. Once this system is up and running, the order processing department doesn't need to be that big. Now, I'm not saying that we should let go of people or bring down division. Absolutely not. What I am saying is that our employees can very easily be retrained to develop and move from manual order processing management to a very they can be retrained and for people who are willing to make that jump to join the IT support staff and help build that infrastructure. So we can definitely we don't have to get rid of any pieces. We don't have to really even bring in any additional budget. As long as we're heading on the path that we are now, we can just simply reallocate some of those sources, to help drive home the overall implementation. But we definitely have a large staff here, and a lot of them right now are very familiar with the order processing process. We can get them properly trained and coordinated to help develop the IT initiative. Absolutely, I think we can continue to do that.
I totally agree. And so 2 questions that come to mind are, one, to Jim is what can everyone here do to help support your team to make this a little more painless? And then 2 would be to Nick and Vishali, how would we go, how do you suggest we go about training some of the folks in Mumbai to maybe help with the implementation and support any questions that Jim's staff comes up with along the way? So maybe Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think one of the key factors here for us is going to be, as a group, deciding what message I can take back to my sales staff. So it's very difficult for me to try and get them to use a slower system. But I can say, look, if you continue to use this system, they're going to continue to put resources on training more employees, and it's going to continue to improve. So what I think we need to agree upon here is an initial first step of how many people we're going to retrain as an effort to improve the online order processing step. I'll go back to my sales team and I'll tell them that starting on whatever date we decide, we're going to train more people to get the online ordering down. If they see there's some success there, and I can present them a story that says, look, previously it was taking 47 days, now we're down to 44, we're going to train another round of people to try and get it down to 40, we're going to start building that necessary momentum on our sales staff, and they're going to really see the value of it. But until then, it's very difficult for me to go back and try and get them to use a system that risks their personal commissions on these sales.
Okay, Vishali, do you have any comments on how we can allocate some of your team?
Yeah, so what we could do right now is, we are really stressed with resources.
We're losing your volume.
One of the things that we could do is start with 25% of the staff, train them, but at the same time, they don't have to be trained outside of their normal working hours for now, because they are fully 100% vested on working on doing the paperless application. Once they are trained, we need to see from Jim's team the increase, a certain increase. Maybe, we have to come up with, say, 10% increase in online over a quarter or something. We have to come up with those numbers. And so it has to be a phased approach. So as the online applications go up, then we can start training our staff and weaning them out of the paper processing into the online processing.
So I think that we can do that. I have a few people on my sales staff that are very heavily weighted with their online applications. They have influence over some people in their offices and in their regions. So what I'll try and do is reach out to them and see who else they can convince to start using the online system a little bit more. That's going to be the low-hanging fruit for us. And as we start to build these little successes and get this momentum going, I'll start working on some of the holdouts, and I will make sure that we drive up the online applications.
And again, I think here, just to touch on Michelle and Jim's point, adoption is key. We're a fast-moving company. We're in a very competitive market. Our competitors are using the same exact application right now, and smoothly. While we definitely have that comfort level in the paper application, in order to really make this a successful initiative, the adoption's got to be there. And I think it's all, Mike, to our point, I think it's got to come, especially from the top down, make sure that we have leadership's commitment to driving this initiative, make sure it goes through management all the way down to the order processing team.
And just to add to that, what we're saying is, Jamie, you can actually offer to your team that as we roll this out, the processing time will go down to 22 days. And that will actually help your team sell our product to bankers. So I think that's an incentive for your sales team.
Exactly.
Okay, and to Nick's point, I can guarantee you've got the support from the top down. I appreciate the fact that everybody is coming together on this and everybody seems in agreement, so it will definitely be a lot of work, but I think it'll definitely pay off in the end. So, I don't know if anyone has anything else to add.
Line here. We can get you a proposal, Mike. I worked with Michelle. I can get you a proposal regarding, potentially converting staff and what that scenario looks like to get some additional uplift from the IT department.
Yeah, we can definitely support that. So Nick, thanks for bringing that up. We can bring out, since the majority of our IT folks are based here in New York, we can bring out teams to invite to begin that onboarding process, at least from the software standpoint, so that when we do roll out the whole training plan, you know, they're hitting the ground running.
Okay. That would be great, and maybe you guys can think about that, work on how you can, your thoughts on the training plan. Jim, you said you're gonna go back to some of your people and come up with maybe a few more target sales reps to really push this. So maybe we take a week and reconvene, and I'd like to, stay involved, because this is a very important initiative, and like I said, everybody's on board. It's important that everybody's on board. So I think in the long run, it will make sales job easier once everyone's trained. It will certainly make Vishali's team, it will transform your team a bit, but to Nick's point, we're not looking to eliminate positions. We're looking to stay up to date with the technology of today, streamline, and maybe we can handle $8 billion of annuities with the same amount of people. So in closing, if anybody would buy, anything else to add?
I think we're good here.
Okay, New York?
I think we're okay. Yeah, we're looking forward to kicking it off.
Okay, sounds good, everybody. I'll be in touch in a week to 10 days, and we'll go from there.
Don't hang up just
Yeah,
yet.
don't hang up just yet.
Yeah, command shift 4.
Yeah.
Take it. Does it pop up? That's not.
It's fine, I think we got it. All right, we're good. All right, tell everybody to come back and bring Maryland's,
Come back to New York. Come back.
Bye.
Is this okay, guys?
Take a flight back.
all right. Come back to New York.
All right.
Okay, good work. Yeah, just have a seat, relax for a minute. We'll wait for the rest of the team to get back, and we'll just do a quick debrief. Hopefully I got that screenshot,
Good
because
job. Because usually when we take the screenshot, the whole
oh,
screen
Command
is
Shift
blank.
3, my bad.
I think 4 is the selection.
Yeah.
4 is the selection. Oh, wow. Well, you all can remember. Yeah, mentally think about what you saw. I wanted to do a quick screenshot to show you some of the lighting. All right, our leader tonight. Great job. Oh, thank you. All right, thanks for coming back to New York. Appreciate it. So let's start with some comments from you. What did you notice about that scenario? And what, in terms of what we discussed in class, helped or hurt the effectiveness of that? Lavanya?
No, I think at one point, like, 10 minutes into the conversation, I thought they were really owning that company, and I kind of started to think that this was more serious than just a
Like,
an assignment.
oh,
I
okay.
thought they were like,
You took them seriously, yeah, thank you.
like, they're really serious about this.
Yes, thank you. All right, they're really serious. She thought that it was a real company that you were representing for a minute. Yeah, thank you all for taking that assignment seriously. I've used this example for a couple of classes now, and I thought last time, and I thought a little this time, that I might want to simplify this a little bit, but it didn't seem to bother you all. You had those details down. So how were they able to effectively communicate around those complicated details in the video conferencing environments?
I know we, very quickly, everyone started, whenever we're going to speak to someone, we're all, stating their name or even their office location just to make sure that this message is about to be directed to you.
Okay.
Everyone was attentive, but I think it's, we were just labeling that communication prior to it happening, and it made it we didn't get lost in the triangle.
Yes, okay. This is directed at you specifically, and here's what I think.
Yeah, not two people didn't really ever speak at once.
All right.
And I thought that Mike did a very good job of coordinating the logistics
Yeah.
part. So he'll say, what do you
Yes.
think? Or what does, yeah.
Yes, Mike was brilliant, and we'll have a whole section about Mike. All right. Let's talk visually. Let's talk about what we saw, maybe in terms of lighting, and how that helped or hurt the communication.
Mike's lighting was poor.
Mike's lighting was poor. I actually was
I
thinking,
thought so too.
I was thinking I might run up there with my cell phone and shine it in your eyes, and everyone would be like, "Oh, you have eyes."
I actually moved once too, and it was still find a spot.
Yeah. So maybe if you had a cell phone, you could have shined it on you. That would have been an option. If you had a desk lamp, maybe there was a shade that you could have opened, something like that. You needed that key light. You didn't have the key light. Essentially, you had fill light and backlight, no key light. So we couldn't see Mike's eyes, but again, we're going to talk about how he overcame that with some brilliance. What else did we see visually? How about Vishali and Nick? Well, how was the visual picture
Well,
there?
we made conscious decision to sit at certain place based on the lighting in the room. So we don't know how it worked.
I could see you very well.
Yeah, they were perfect. All right, and it warms my heart to hear you say that.
Yeah, we did.
You listened to the instruction and you made a conscious decision to sit, and we could see you clearly,
Yeah.
and I think that helped.
Yeah,
We also, we also tried to use some shifting camera angles as well.
right.
Just so, because rather than just us squeezing into the frame, it was better if I put it on Vishali or something.
I saw that, and I looked it up. I'm like, wait, why is Vishali? Oh, okay. So I took note of that, broke up that monotony and isolation.
Right.
And I think what happened with the sound
Yeah.
on your end, all right, so technical difficulties happen, whatever. But what I noticed that was interesting is we couldn't hear you all the first time. And then Nick got closer and spoke louder and just added some clarity to at least what your office was saying. And then when you spoke the second time, we could hear you more clearly because I think you slowed down.
Okay.
I think you tried to talk louder. And I feel like you also did something else impressive that I
told
made
her
it up.
to mute their thing so she doesn't hear people.
Okay, yeah, so the other end, the other two participants muted their microphones, so perhaps you didn't hear feedback. So you looked at the camera.
Oh.
That was it. Did you make a conscious
Yes,
effort to look at the
to
camera?
look at the camera.
Did anyone else notice that? Yeah, she looked directly into the camera, talked slower, said less, and all that in combination, we could hear her and understand her. It still wasn't perfect, but it made a big difference. Not looking into the camera. Actually, I was trying to. I wanted to do a screenshot just to get the screenshot for you, and I pulled out my cell phone and was looking for the screenshot, and I looked up, and Vishali was like staring right at me. I'm like, oh my God, she got me looking at my cell phone. So it captured our attention, and in this case, I think it really overcame that communication barrier.
And we talked about it a little bit afterwards because he could actually hear me in his room.
Yeah.
And I was loud enough for, so for Nick,
I
but
could hear better through the wall than.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not sure. I was thinking, is it my projection, the way my voice projects? So we couldn't figure that out. Because you could hear Nick very well.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
were sitting right there.
It could have just been the microphone too, because sometimes certain tones of your voice were not as deep as Nick's, obviously, so sometimes they're just not as sensitive in certain parts of the spectrum.
Sure.
But this
sure.
was a good exercise to find that out, so that's great.
Yeah. How did Daniel and Jim look to Mike, to you, and Vishali and Nick?
the lighting was a little bit more dull too for their side.
Yeah, and that's what I noticed. We couldn't really see because we were in here and we were probably looking at them and the larger two screens, but I noticed Daniel's face looked a little dark and a little bit of darkness on Jim's face as well. So I wondered how that looked and how that played. You know, we could have tried to find. I was looking at the overhead, and I thought maybe I could bring that over and shine that at Jim and Daniel. One possibility. You do the best you can.
What about the posture in our frame? What about the posture? Because I know me and Jim had different postures.
We were like
Yeah.
leaning a lot.
What did you find?
Uncomfortable chairs.
I thought you were a little bit like leaning and not straight up. I did notice that. Yeah.
Because I was actually, my face was straight up, but I was leaning forward a little bit.
Yeah.
But Jim was sitting straight up, but leaning back.
Yeah.
Jim looked
a lot further away.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so now let's talk about how brilliantly Mike coordinated this meeting and how that made a difference. Tell me, what did you hear? What did you think? He needs to be promoted wherever. All right, just based on this interaction. We've heard you talk a little bit before in class, but this is probably the most we've heard you, and we've got already one person who needs to promote you. My thought was, it's just so obvious that you're the VP of this department. Like, that was your role. It's just, of course, they promoted this guy. And he's the one that deserves to be in that role, just based on the way we saw him coordinate that. His business expertise, but also because of the techniques we talked about that we just went over. We were able to hear him. He used simple preview, simple review. He was able to single out, I want to hear from you, Vishali. I want to hear from you, Nick. Renee?
I thought the fact that he was the only one on his screen also helped a lot because there's only one person to look at, and you can clearly tell that he's like the leader of the group.
Okay, so that is something we can keep in mind. Yeah, definitely a point that makes a difference.
It's clear he was directing the conversation.
Yes.
And I got lost. I'm like, this looks like a real meeting. And you're like, okay, you, and how about you, and what do you think? And he checked back in with the different groups. So it was good management of the conversation.
Yeah, and I think in terms of his understanding of the business, he just read the scenario.
The introduction and conclusion was, he just break the sentences. They were very nice.
Yeah, and I'm sure Mike is great at his job. I'm sure he should be promoted to VP wherever he is. But in terms of his expertise on this, all he did was read 2 pages. Like that's all he did. And now we're like, oh my God, he is the brilliant, leader of this company. Yeah.
I think in true fashion, he let the operations people and the sales people talk percentages, numbers, and figures, and he gave us that. I think he gave the audience too the 35,000 view summary, like you said. So he wasn't saying X percentage this and that like we were numbers. He was just, what's the message? Here's the takeaway. You have our support and our commitment. You got anything else you want to add? Look forward to your proposals.
Absolutely.
You guys were really forthcoming, so it kind of made it easy. I thought, like, if nobody wanted to talk, it would have been a lot more difficult.
And he's humble as well. gives credit to the rest of the team. All right, fantastic. So let's move on to the next scenario. So you all are going to, you're going to use their room? You like their room?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got our graph experts are going to go to a team room, and they're going to explain the graph, which is on the next page of your slides. They're going to make some sense of that for us. Tell us how that's interesting from a historical and statistical standpoint. So Marilyn, you want to just call me when you're ready?
Yeah, every time I think of a route, it's like.
Experts about to be this laptop.
So do you have our screenshot or you don't have a screenshot?
I didn't get it.
Okay.
As under pressure, it was you. You looked at me and you got me scared that I shouldn't be playing with
I was
myself.
just thinking, you know, for the next Christmas card, I can have our screenshot. I'm kidding.
Sorry. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
All right. We're ready when you are.
So we're gonna wait for Jose for a second. I think we might have to do it. Yeah.
They've got it on mute while they're setting up. Interesting though. Kind of making judgments now. Everything okay? Are you all right?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Take your time. Didn't mean to rush you. Remember Jose is the guy who's He's the guy who's in the bathroom.
So what role player
They're gonna explain a complicated visual aid to us. And you've got it in your slides. It's this map right here.
All right, class. Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Torresano. I'm here with my two colleagues, Marilyn Coleman and Jose Macia. Our presentation today is on Charles Menard's visual graphic, The Cart Figure T. So to begin, I will provide a background on who Charles Menard was and on what his visual graphic is portraying. Next, Marilyn will walk the class through the visual graphic itself and we'll go over its various components in more detail. Lastly, Jose will explain to us all why it is such an impactful and powerful visual, and why it is often considered as one of the greatest visuals ever put together. In fact, it is so impactful that it is often referred to as the visual that brought a nation to tears. So that is our agenda for today. And to begin with the background portion, I'll start that off now. So to begin, Charles Bernard, he was a French civil engineer. He was born in 1781. He quickly rose to importance and popularity for solving complex civil engineering problems in his time. However, he is most famous for his significant contribution to the information graphics. He was able to put numerical and statistical data onto geographic maps in a way that provided data-rich content to its viewers, and which was frankly never seen before his time. So he was a pioneer in that front. His most famous visual graphic is the one that we will be discussing today. It's called the Carte Figurative, and the English translation to the title is The Figurative Map of the Successive Losses in the Men of the French Army in the Russian Campaign of 1812 and 1813. So this visual graphic displays the loss of the French army when they were invading Russia. When they were invading Russia. Okay, and as we'll see, the graph expresses the loss of life and hardships and everything that the French army endured at the time. So before I pass it on to Marilyn, which will take us all through the visual graphic in more detail, I will provide a quick background as to what the Russian campaign was. So the Russian campaign started in June of 1812. And it started along the Polish and Russian border. It was led by Napoleon, and it was an army of about 425,000 men. Napoleon decided to invade Russia in an attempt to defeat the Russian army and compel the Russian Tsar at the time, Tsar Alexander, to comply to his demands of seizing all trade with the British merchants at the time. As we'll see shortly, the campaign was a complete disaster. Instead of engaging with battle against Napoleon's army, the Russian troops retreated back, and they burned everything along the way, crippling the army and devastating Napoleon's army, which at the end pretty much was the demise of his empire. So now that everyone has a quick background and everything, I'll pass it along to Marilyn, and she'll walk us through the graphic.
Okay, as you can see in the graph, we have two distinct paths. We're going to start on the left-hand side and move towards the right. That's going to represent the French army's march into Moscow. That's the lighter shaded, thicker line. Then we're going to move back with the darker black line to show the retreat from Moscow back to the Russian border. So when we start on the left, you're going to see the thickest portion of the line is when they started. One interesting thing about this graph is that everything is drawn to scale. In a way, the distance of the lines representing the march is 1 millimeter for every 10,000 troops. The distance is drawn to scale, and it represents the movement in geography. So not only do we have troops moving